You're listening to another episode of the Just Go Bike podcast. That's AKA Murph.
And that's AP. And this is the podcast where we talk about cycling just for the fun of it. With tales from all over the nation, come for the bikes, stay for the fun, and leave with a smile. Hello, AP.
Hi, Murph. So we have no idea what time of day you listeners are listening to this episode. But do you think anyone out there in podcast listener land might be drinking a craft beer while they're tuning in?
Oh, great question. I'm going to guess someone or several someones are. Does that mean that you're drinking a craft beer right now?
Well, no, it is only 1 p.m., so I am having a soft drink right now. But I kind of wish I was, now that we're talking about it. Are you?
Oh gosh, no, I'm not either. I am drinking my soda as well, but I do have a Big Grove hat on right now. Does that count?
Absolutely. And the reason I bring up beer at this time of day is because, well, there's never a bad time of day to talk about craft beer, but it's also the topic of this episode.
Yes, very true.
So early on, while we were doing our route planning, we're not planning the route, but we were planning about what we were going to talk about and what we were going to be interested in sharing about the route of RAGBRAI 50, we discovered that there are actually quite a few breweries along the way.
I know there are actually a lot of breweries. And for those of you who enjoy craft beers, you are going to have a great opportunity this year to try lots of Iowa-made beer, Iowa-created beer. And even if you do not consume alcohol, every brewery that I talked to in this podcast episode had non-alcoholic options, and a lot of the breweries brew their own non-alcoholic options.
Oh, that's really cool, because I think people just like to have options, and options there are. I mean, let's not forget about our very own RAGBRAI beer, which is Tailwind from Big Grove, and that's a tasty, tasty beer.
Yes, yes. So I reached out to a bunch of the breweries along the route, and that's what you're going to hear today are some of those interviews. And I also was lucky enough to spend some extra time chatting with Chad from Big Grove Brewery. So he talks a little bit about the history of Big Grove and the partnership he has with RAGBRAI. So that part was really cool.
Yeah. Oh, and that brand new Big Grove here in Des Moines is one of my very favorite places to visit. I guess brand new, it's about a year old now, almost exactly a year old. So it's really, really, really cool.
Yeah, and it's really close to the capital, so it's kind of, right there on the route. And of course, there's a Big Grove under construction where I live here in Cedar Rapids.
Yeah. So they're taking over Iowa one town at a time.
And the nice thing about Iowa breweries is, there are all these places that you can stop along the route, but then also every single day, if it's your thing, we've got 2 on-route entities that people can see every day.
That's right. We have the Iowa Craft Beer Tent and the Iowa Beer Bus, which are awesome, awesome places to stop and get a cold one.
Yes, and non-alcoholic options at both of those places too. So
absolutely. Yeah,
yep.
one of my favorite things to do, one of my favorite things to do at those stops is to have a root beer float. So definitely recommend that if they have the ice cream option that day. So cheers to this. Let's get right into it.
Okay, sounds good. Well, I would like to welcome Betsy and Joe to the podcast. Hey, guys.
Hey.
So, spoiler alert, I have already learned the proper way to say this brewery, but you guys are from, let me hope I can say it right, GeZellig Brewery?
Nailed it. Very good.
Okay, so tell us where you're located.
We are located in Newton, Iowa.
Okay.
And we are here at what is now called Legacy Plaza. The address is 403 West 4th Street North. And we are in Legacy Plaza, which was at one time Maytag headquarters.
Oh, that's some cool, interesting history.
It is, and you can really see it in a lot of the landmarks in this little neighborhood.
Okay, well, I know the listeners are eager to find out more about the beers you produce and what they can expect while they're on RAGBRAI, but I want to go back to the name of your brewery because it's such an interesting story.
Yeah, it is. So the word GeZellig is a Dutch word, and there is no direct English translation, but what the meaning is behind it is that warm, comfortable feeling you get when you are with loved ones. So our tagline for GeZellig is "It's like a liquid hug," and we've actually named a beer Liquid Hug Lager after that tagline.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. And
Yeah,
tell the listeners how it's spelled so when they see it, it definitely looks different than how it's pronounced.
it sure does. It is spelled GeZellig.
Perfect. Okay. GeZellig Brewery. And tell the listeners, maybe Betsy, do you want to start? Tell us what you do there. And also, let's find out from Joe.
Of course. So I am one of two owners. So I'm a co-owner. We are 100% female owned. And I am also the managing owner. So I'm here on site. I do a lot of the behind the scenes things, a lot of beer traffic control here. And then we have Joe, who is really instrumental, and I'll let him introduce himself.
Yeah, so I've been head brewer here for the last year and a half, going on 2 years. I've been brewing professionally since 2005, so I've been around for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Betsy and I will go over different beers that we want to brew, and I will develop recipes for those.
He makes the magic happen.
Well, I was going to say, you're making it sound so easy. Like, oh, I just, you talk about what you like, and then I just brew up a batch. But it's way more than that.
It is, but I've had a lot of experience, so it almost is that easy after a while, but you just learn after that many years of brewing.
Sure. Well, and congrats, Betsy, on being a female-owned business. That's really awesome.
Yeah.
Do you want to give us like a brief history of how you got to be in the place you are now?
Sure. So GeZellig is 4 years young, which is 84 years through our recent pandemic and in our very early beginning, a government shutdown. So we've led a million lives, I would like to say. Initially, we were intended to be in a location that has a strong Dutch heritage. And we did not end up there. So I like to say that we were welcomed with open arms into Newton, Iowa as Dutch refugees. So here we are. And now we have over 21 national awards for our beers under our belt in the 4 short years we've been here.
Wow, that is impressive. And, right there in Newton, Iowa, which, all the riders are going to be coming through there. So definitely a place that they want to stop and check it out for some beers, but also just to find out more about you guys.
Absolutely. And Joe is actually going to be riding a leg.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll probably ride a few days. I'll probably ride the Ames to Des Moines, and I'll be wearing my jersey, sporting the GeZellig jersey, and spreading the information to everybody.
Okay, I want to know more about this jersey, but first, Joe, will you be carrying a backpack full of samples that we would need to grab you?
I'm actually working on that.
Oh, wow.
We're trying to figure out a way to pull maybe a keg with me and give samples along the ride. So we'll see.
Well, I know I'll be looking for you for sure. But so along, you can mention the jersey if you want to, but tell the listeners some of the things that you offer at the brewery.
So we have a wide range of beers, anywhere from fruited sours, pale lager. We have nice hazy IPAs, and we even have some dark porters on tap. So we have a wide range from one extreme to the other on tap that people will be able to enjoy. We also have beer cocktails as well available, which is new for us over the last couple of weeks. So those have been going well. As it'll be a good variety for everybody to try.
Sure. Do you also have options for people that don't consume alcohol?
We do. We always carry a variety of craft sodas.
Oh, okay.
We have non-alcoholic beers available produced by others. And we always have free water.
Okay, excellent. Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot. This is kind of like talking about your children, but Betsy, you go first. Do you have a favorite beverage on the menu?
I like to say the ones that sell really well.
Okay, yeah.
But what is in my fridge? In my fridge right now would be our porter.
Mm.
It's just a really nice, clean porter called TV Dinner. So that's kind of what I'm drinking right now.
Okay. And how about you, Joe?
For me, I kind of go through phases, but right now, I would say sipping on hops and juice. It's a nice, easy drinking hazy IPA. That's about 5.8%, 6%. So it's nice and easy drinking for night hot weather.
And I do not have any of your beer in my fridge, but if I did, I'm pretty confident it would be the sour that you mentioned. And what is that called?
So right now we have watermelon slice on tap, and it's
Ooh.
a nice watermelon character. Not super sour, but it's got a little bit of sweetness in there as well.
It tastes
So
like
it's pretty well
summertime.
balanced. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thirsty for it right now. So let's get into, we already know you have plenty of great beers to offer. You're female owned. You're in Newton, Iowa. Joe has been brewing beer for a very long time. So what can riders expect as they roll through town and find your brewery?
So we are a halfway point and we are super excited. We always offer shade. I know it's hot.
Mm-hmm.
Really hot during RAGBRAI, and luckily this neighborhood is shaded like crazy. It's beautiful. We have plenty of bathrooms, but we also have planned some pop-up yoga and massages. Both table and chair massages will be offered here. We're going to have a free swap table, and an acoustic band will be playing. We're always family and pet friendly as well outside in our outdoor courtyard. So that is what we will have to offer.
And if people are, hearing this and want to know more about your brewery for RAGBRAI, but also just any time of the year, will you share some of your contact information?
Of course. So we are on Facebook, we are on Twitter, we are on Instagram, and we also have a webpage, and that's just GeZelligBrewing.com.
By chance, will you be selling your jerseys?
I will have a few spare jerseys for sale.
Aha.
So, stickers and all of the things.
Awesome. Well, I will speak on behalf of all RAGBRAI riders who enjoy craft beer. We are excited to come see your brewery, especially, in Newton as a halfway stop. It's actually halfway on the route, too. So it'll be just a great, refreshing stop.
Absolutely. We're planning it that way.
All right. Well, thank you both so much for popping on the podcast.
Of course.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for your time.
Okay, next up we have Andrew, and Andrew is from Brightside Aleworks. Hey, how are you doing, Andrew?
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, we're very happy to have you and to have you along the route this year for RAGBRAI. Well, why don't you start out by telling us maybe what role you play at Brightside and also maybe a brief history?
I'm a brewer owner, but I do have some very competent staff, assistant brewers, taproom managers, and servers. So I'm very grateful for those people. Brightside has been around it will be 6 years.
Oh, wow.
In October. Yep. The auspicious date of October, Friday the 13th, 2017, I think. Yep. Yep. We have been around. We've expanded since then with a patio, sidebar event space, and we've just acquired some new equipment too that'll help us fill in some gaps in our profile, add some lagers, get a room to barrel aged beers, things like that. Yeah.
Wow. And tell the listeners exactly where you're located.
We are located in Altoona off of exit 143 by Hy-Vee and Pizza Ranch. Everybody kind of knows where Hy-Vee and Pizza Ranch are in any town, so that's kind of the markers.
Mm-hmm.
We are about 1 mile off of the main route that's going to come through Altoona on the 27th.
And tell us about some of the offerings you have. Like I know since you're the owner, you probably can't pick a favorite beer, but do you want to tell us a few of the popular ones?
Sure. Yeah, let's to be RAGBRAI specific. We're gonna have 16-ounce can formats of a little bit of everything. We'll
Mm.
have a New England IPA called the Hazy Diamond Bling Sauce. That's really good. We'll have our Irish Red side in cans available, and we're moving some of our taproom exclusives also into 16-ounce cans for RAGBRAI.
Mm.
We have the pastry sour. It's a wonderful pie that is blueberry and graham cracker and pie crust. And
Whoa.
then, yeah, and then we have something fun too. This is a gluten-free sour seltzer made with Iowa honey, flavored with raspberry and lemon, called Shoop Badoop. It's a gluten-free sour seltzer. Yep, so those will be in cans to go. And then additionally for RAGBRAI, we'll have some cans available from our friends from Pulpit, Dimensional, Marteau, and Barntown. So yeah.
And how are riders going to be able to find you? Is it going to be at your brick and mortar location, or will you be somewhere on the route other than that?
So we will have a couple offerings in draft at the Iowa Beer Tent on stops.
Mm.
Our tap room will be opening up at 8 a.m. that day for to-go stuff and limited, inside. And then personally, I'm actually helping plan the events that day for Altoona. So I will be at the Spring Creek Sports Complex, kind of emceeing and overseeing all of that, just to make sure it goes off with limited hitches. But we will also have our Brightside beer there at the event space at the Spring Creek Sports Complex at the beer tent as well.
Okay, so that means riders on Wednesday of RAGBRAI will be able to actually get, beers to go from your place. But if I'm hearing you right, they will have opportunities to drink your beer all week long.
Yep. We'll be on different stops with the craft beer tent. I think we will be on a stop in Ames with Thirsty Pigs. And then, Altoona will be the big day. You'll be able to get us wherever you are at in town.
Okay. And then let's say, you've got a husband and wife team. One of them drinks beer, the other doesn't. Are there other offerings that you have maybe that are non-alcoholic?
Sure. We have some great non-alcoholic craft sodas from Millstream, another brewery here in Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also have a new product line that Lua and Climbing Kites launched, those THC-infused beverages for the people that are wanting that experience. Some of those gluten-free seltzers also hit that profile of not beerish,
Sure.
but more fruity, flavorful that a introductory beer drinker might move towards.
Okay. Sounds good. And how about contact info or website or a social media page if people want to learn more about Brightside?
Sure. You can follow us on social media, Facebook, Brightside Aleworks. I think our Insta account is the same, at Brightside Aleworks. Taproom at brightsidealeworks.com is the main email for people looking to find out more or book events or things like that.
Awesome. Well, is there anything else I didn't mention that you want to say?
I think that's the gist of it. I'm just looking forward to a great week. I think there's going to be lots of fun each day, lots of great breweries here in Iowa. I'm just glad to be a part of it.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Andrew, for your time, and we all look forward to seeing you on the RAGBRAI route.
Thank you so much.
All right, next up we have Millstream Brewing, and with me is Steve Charlier. How are you, Steve?
Hey, thanks. I appreciate the time. Good to talk to you.
Yeah. Well, by the time riders get towards your side of the state, they're going to be well-versed on riding their bikes and, all the stuff that happens throughout the day on RAGBRAI. So they've got to make sure that they stop at Millstream. Do you agree?
I agree. I just hope they're thirsty. And I, knowing RAGBRAI for several years, I'm pretty sure they will be.
Yeah, exactly. And you're in my neck of the woods. So, of course, I know Millstream Brewing very well. But tell the listeners what role that you play at Millstream and also maybe a brief history.
Yeah, so I'm one of the co-owners of the brewery. We took it over about a little more than 2 years ago.
Oh, okay.
There have only been a few owners of Millstream Brewing Company in the 35 plus years it's been in existence. So we're Iowa's first craft brewery, first ever one in the state of Iowa.
Wow. Okay.
It was founded by a couple guys who were brewing some German beers, in their garage in the early 80s. And they started here officially in 1985. Today, it's the 9th oldest operating brewery in the country.
In the country. Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. The brewery itself, when we think of 1985, that doesn't sound very old to at least somebody my age. But when you're talking brewing years, that's pretty good for the craft brew side of the business.
Sure. And you mentioned, way back when those two guys were in the garage and you had a German background there. Will you tell the listeners how that makes sense to where you're located?
Sure. So the Amana colonies are made up of 7 colonies, and it was a German settlement back in the 1800s. And if you're familiar with the area or not, they were colonized and they shared communal kitchens, communal farms, but the farms were spread out every so many miles. So Amana colonies is 27,000 acres. It was privatized in the early 1930s, and the shares of land were given out to the families whose ancestors founded it. And it's a mixture of families with a long lineage in Amana and private businesses like ourselves. And so honestly, it's one of the prettiest locations in Iowa. I think you get a lot of history. You get some nice, good old-fashioned Iowa corn and bean fields on the way into town. There's a beautiful lake and just some really cool businesses, good homegrown products, and what I think is the best beer and craft soda in the state.
Awesome. And you definitely still have a German feel as you come into town. So we've talked about it several times on the podcast previously. So hopefully riders will already be prepared to come into Amana. So once they get there, right, they're going to find Millstream Brewing. And tell us what you offer.
You know what? We've got about 22 different beers on tap and
Wow.
another 15 in cans. So it started, and honestly, when you see the place for the first time, you'll say, where does all that come from? Plus another 10 craft sodas that we brew. And so a massive variety. Our base is German beers. We've got a World Cup gold medal award winning amber and stout that are fantastic. But in the last few years, we've added another 20 different varieties of beer, and we're experimenting every week. We kicked off our Oktoberfest a week early this year so we could make sure and have plenty on hand for the riders. So anybody looking for their first taste of Oktoberfest on a ride, I would tell you this is your stop. And then honestly, I think after 4 or 5 days of pedaling, there might be some folks out there that are in need of a free beer. So we've got some free beer surprises waiting for riders. So I would tell people, look as you're making the trip from your overnight stop in Tama, down into Iowa County and into Millstream, and you'll probably find some places that you can stop and get a free beer coupon and come in. And we want to try to buy as many first rounds of beer as we can. And we've got music planned for the entire day. We've got, I think, something like 70 taps set up. And you know what I love about Millstream? It's still a good place where you can get a $5 beer. So, we're a beautiful kind of picturesque setting. Just good people. We want to make sure you have fun, cool off if you need to, get a beer if you need to, dance if you want to, have a good time. We just want to welcome you to town.
And I think you briefly touched on it, but do you have non-alcoholic options for people who do not want to consume beer?
Yeah, one of the secrets here, or not so well kept secrets, is we'll brew about 10,000 barrels of products this year, and about 5,000 barrels are soda, craft soda. So Millstream root beer, cream soda, grape, sarsaparilla, black cherry, orange cream soda, ginger beer. So we have seasonal varieties. So yeah, tons of soda, and soda is probably one of our biggest distributor products. We distribute to nearly all 50 states with our sodas right now. Oh,
wow. Okay. So riders can get it when they're off the bike too.
Absolutely. Look for it at, major grocery stores, or if you're coming in from out of state, a lot of the specialty little bottle shops and things like that carry your specialty soda stands.
Okay. So as I come to Millstream, I'm guessing I'm going to get a German, like a Hefeweizen kind of drink, because that's what I love to drink there. But What's your favorite? Like, what do you think?
Oh, wow, that's tough. It changes by the day, right?
Right.
So, on a big hot day like today, I'm going to go for a nice German Pilsner, or we have like a Nordic Pilsner, we call it. It's similar to a Czech style. we have something that sounds kind of odd, but if you try it, it's fantastic. It's called Pants Off Dance Off Pistachio Cream Ale.
Oh my
So
gosh.
it's an Iowa corn-based cream ale that is just a smooth and creamy with just a hint of pistachio. And I know it sounds a little odd, but when you drink it, it's not sweet. It's not really savory. It's just got this neat little finish on it. And I would tell you, if you haven't tried that before, grab that one. I would be remiss if I didn't tell you, get your first Oktoberfest of the year here, because we really do love the Oktoberfest. The Amana water is really good to brew with. We really don't have to treat it much. It's just easy to brew for a good hearty beer. And so I think our Oktoberfest compares to none.
And I'm not a brewer. Is that the right way to say that?
Yeah.
I don't brew beer. So just the fact that you are thinking ahead for Oktoberfest beer, and here we are in July, like it's, I think of, I'm going to make something and then I'm going to drink it, where you have to make it ahead of time and let it, whatever it does in those big tanks, so that it's ready for us when we come through.
Yeah. So think about the style or the variety of Oktoberfest. It's a Marzen, which, in German, that's March. It's a March beer. So, and ironically, we start around the last days of March, early April, making our Oktoberfest. We'll go through, somewhere around 800 barrels of Oktoberfest, 800 kegs of Oktoberfest this year. So we're starting really, really early. And so we want it ready and on all the store shelves and in the taps by August 1st. And we really get a sell window of like August, September, and October. And then, once you get into that November time period, you start looking for those fun holiday beers. And people start to switch to the pumpkins and maybe some of the even darker stuff. So we really try to get it out there. And then some guy named Sam Adams started releasing it earlier and earlier over the years. And so the request from our distributors is, can you have it out, when the National Oktoberfest? So, we get that question a lot in July, is why are you talking about Oktoberfest in July? But we released it last week in-house, and I can tell you it tastes just as good as July as it does in October.
So we know Millstream Brewing, riders will go through it on Friday. So we're almost done with RAGBRAI by the time we get there. But in the meantime, do you have contact info or a place that people can go to find out more?
Yeah, millstreambrewing.com, or you can check us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and we'll have plenty of updates throughout the ride. And we'll be letting people know what we've got going on. But yeah, bands all day. Beer all day, plenty of stops, and just a great place to relax for a couple hours while you're coming through.
Awesome. And riders, you heard it here first. There are opportunities to get some free beer coupons, so be on the lookout for that.
Sounds good. Yes, free beer. That's a seldom uttered phrase on the RAGBRAI path, so we want to make sure we're the one.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much, Steve, for being on the podcast.
Thank you.
Okay, riders, you've had a big, long week of riding, and once you hit the river, of course, it's a very dramatic day, dipping your tire in the river, but there's also a brewery to stop at. So I'd like to welcome Kelly to the podcast.
Hi there.
Well, tell us, Kelly, where you are located and the name of your business.
So we are Front Street Brewery. We will, as of October, will have been around for 31 years.
Oh, my gosh.
Yes. So our original location is where our restaurant is now on River Drive in Davenport. It's a little further east of where the dip site is. But our tap room and our brewery is actually the nearest liquor license holder to where the dip site is going to be at the end of the ride.
So literally, riders can dip their tires, get their selfies, get their photographs, and meander right over to your place.
Absolutely, yeah. We'll have people handing out buy one, get one tickets and directing people over there. So it's not hard to find.
Sweet. Okay, so Front Street Brewery. And do you want to give us, I think your history is pretty cool. Do you want to give us a brief history of Front Street?
Yeah, so started in 92. Then, of course, the flood happened in 93. Floods are a common theme within the Front Street's history. But Yeah, I mean, Steve and Cindy started it then, and they pretty much just had a restaurant. And Steve wanted to brew beer for the restaurant goers. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
then he stumbled upon Cherry Bomb Blonde, which is our flagship beer. It's our best seller by far. And people begged him to distribute it for years and years, and he kind of went kicking and screaming into it, and finally did. And I mean, now we have 2 locations, and I mean, we sell quite a bit of Cherry Bomb Blonde. That's our biggest seller by far. I mean, I've had people from New York, Florida, Arizona, all over the country asking if they can get some of our beer. So
Wow. I was hopeful that you were going to say that that original beer still exists and is still popular.
yes, that is our Davenport Gold. It's called the Goldilocks now. That's one of our originals. Raging River is named after the '93 flood. That's we still brew that. So yeah, I mean, much of our beer that we still brew is original, and then I think we have at any given time, say 15 beers on tap.
Oh,
So
wow. Wow.
yeah,
Do you have a favorite beverage? I know it's hard to say, but do you have a favorite?
so I really like our Baroness, which is a red ale. Um, but they just brewed this one called American Beauty, which is a brown ale.
Hmm.
That's actually quite good. I've been drinking a lot of that lately. So
And you know, it is your job, right? So you can say that.
yes, yeah. I mean, I've had worse jobs than drinking around or sitting around and drinking beer. So
Well, can you tell us what sort of plans you have set up for us when we come through on RAGBRAI?
there's always a farmers market in between, basically where the dip site is and our brewery. It's in the parking lot of the Modern Woodman Ballpark. And that should be, I mean, depending on what time the riders get in or whatever, that should be kind of dissipating.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the vendors will be moving out and everything. So, I mean, people can bring their buses there and park. There's a field right there. It's usually a soccer and rugby field. I know they park in there and everything, but I mean, yeah, come on down. And like I said, we're going to be doing buy one, get ones for all riders. I know traffic might be a little bad and everything. And I know a lot of people like to kind of get out of town right when they stop. But I mean, we are right there, so you might as well have one beer. And you know, we have a really good view of the river, really big patio. So
There's something to be said, though, after finishing 500 miles, especially if it's going to be hot that day. A nice cold beer is pretty inviting.
oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, I've done RAGBRAI 2 years before, and 1 year we did stop in Davenport, and I actually rode my bike home that day. I should not have done that, but no, yeah, I got home, showered, and then right back downtown, and yeah, I enjoyed a few cold ones. So,
Are you going to get to ride RAGBRAI this year?
I don't think so. I'm going to try to do maybe one day. Saturday, I'm going to be out corralling people over to our brewery, so I don't think I'll
Right.
be able to ride. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. Our team is called Pour Decisions, POUR Decisions.
Nice.
So yeah, yeah, if any of you folks see them out there, you know, stop and have a beer with them, or stop and have some pie. I'm sure Jeff and Mike and all the guys will be eating every day, eat Amish pie. So.
Will you have any sort of like merchandise or jerseys or anything that people can take home with them after they've had their delicious beer?
So we will not have jerseys, unfortunately. I'm trying for that maybe next year. I mean, that's something we probably should have talked about. I don't really do the merchandise, but I am actually not sure if we're going to have like a individual like RAGBRAI stop or anything, but we do have merchandise. We always have clothes. We always have stickers. You can take home a growler. You know, we always have a bunch of merchandise in our cages.
So then here's a good question. If you sell growlers and, you know, people are finishing RAGBRAI, they're loading up their cars, and maybe some of them have a long drive ahead of them, can you fill up the growlers before they take off?
Absolutely, we can fill those up. We also sell 4-packs of our beer at the stop.
Oh, nice.
We package about 5 different kinds of beer. And I'm not sure, but we might even, if on RAGBRAI, we might be doing a like a 4-pack sampler of everything. So, but yeah, I mean, we've got a bunch of growlers to fill. So, bring
Okay.
them down.
And so someone like me at that point in the week will probably want something a little bit lighter. Do you have a suggestion of what you have on tap that I would maybe enjoy?
So Cherry Bomb Blonde is actually a very light beer. It's kind of more of a tart cherry. It's not really super sweet.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, it appeals to a lot of different people. Our Davenport Gold is probably our lightest beer. That's just like a really light ale. We've also got Mahalo, which is a pineapple radler. So that's on the sweeter side, but that's if it's a really hot day at the end of July, I mean, it's a perfect day to be drinking Mahalo.
Sure.
And then we also have Juicy Lucy, which is a pineapple sour that's quite popular right now. So
I love sours when it's really hot.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we always have a cider. It's in Illinois, a little further away from us. We've got a cider on tap all the time. One or two rotating handles from different Quad City breweries. So, I mean,
cool.
we've got a pretty big selection. There's something for every beer drinker at our tap room.
So then what about the people who maybe aren't into actual like craft beer? Do you have other options?
So we do have slushies. So we have a rosé slushie, which is quite popular. We also have our Cherry Bomb and our Mahalo, which is beer, but it's mixed in with the ice.
Oh.
And something that's actually quite popular is you get a shot of Malibu with the Mahalo, and it'll cool you down. It's pretty nice treat.
Okay, I'm starting to be excited, and the fact that you are going to be passing out buy one get one or 2-for-1s or whatever you said that could be helpful, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then for non-alcoholic drinkers, of course, I'm assuming that you'll have like water and soda available as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Well, good. Any sort of like social media or Facebook that people can go to look at before they get there?
So it's Front Street Brewery Tap Room, and then our restaurant is Front Street Brewery Pub and Grill. And so we have 2 Facebook pages, but yeah, I mean, if you just look us up, we're on there. We've got, I think we'll have live music that day. I'm sure we'll have somebody. I don't know who it is at this point, but we'll have people there. And I mean, it's just a good time. It's always a good time. I mean, even if you don't want to beat the crowd or whatever, if you ever come back to the Quad Cities to ride, we're a really good stop. We're right on the bike path. The Quad Cities has over 100 miles of bike path.
Wow.
So, I mean, it's and it's all pretty much circuitous. So, I mean, you can drop your car off some point, ride for, 30 to 50 miles and hit your car and get right back in. So
nice.
We're kind of lucky. I've been to a few different places in the country, and they do a lot more populated places, and they do not have the bike paths that we do in the Quad Cities.
That's awesome. And I'm sure there'll be people who finish the ride and wait till the next day to, head back to their homes. So this is a great opportunity to check out Davenport and Front Street Brewery.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much, Kelly, for coming on the podcast, and we will see you in a few weeks.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, next up is a very famous brewery, Big Grove Brewery, and with us is Chad Young. Hey, Chad.
Hey, how are you?
Good. So glad to have you on our brewery tour and being on the podcast to talk about Big Grove. And I'm sure unless somebody lives under a rock, RAGBRAI riders should know Big Grove is a big deal.
I would hope so. That's all the events and doing RAGBRAI for this many years. We've got to meet so many great people, and hopefully we've left a good impression with them. Hopefully something to remember for a long time.
Yeah, and actually Big Grove is called the official brewery of RAGBRAI, and lots of good beers. We'll get into that in a second, but the one that riders may recognize is a beer called Tailwind, and I don't want to spoil it, so you tell us what Tailwind is all about.
Yeah, so when we went down this path for this project, making a beer, especially for RAGBRAI, knowing what people are looking for and just the range that everybody experiences, we wanted something that was super approachable, and that landed us with a golden ale. Which, when you think about dark beers and IPAs that have a much more, forward hop profile and things like this, golden ales they're nice, they're delicate. If you're like, very familiar with like domestic range where, don't think just, bland like that.
Hmm.
This one has some really good flavor, but again, delicate and very easy to drink.
In past years, the actual RAGBRAI overnight towns were on the can. Is that the case this year as well?
Yep, yep. We're repeating that. The same. You know, we put the RAGBRAI, the current logo on the front of the can too, and then with the towns on there. So, hopefully adds, something that's also makes it really special and collectible. Because we know like through RAGBRAI, when it comes to remembering the journey and, all the places they go and the events they get to do, the friends they make, it's just one of those things that kind of puts a little symbol and like hopefully stirs up a good memory for everybody.
Heck yeah. And just think of people who don't live in Iowa taking back a can of Tailwind and it's got the, RAGBRAI logo, the towns that they went through, sitting on the shelf or maybe in the fridge. I guess, they want to drink it too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's funny because I don't know what the exact number is, but something like 75% of the people in RAGBRAI are not from Iowa.
Mm.
And I'm lucky enough I take part of RAGBRAI for the entire week, and you meet so many people, and they get to know you because you see their faces every day over and
Mhm.
over, and yeah, I get a lot of really pleasant messages, whether it's through Instagram or emails, and people just gathering, and there's this group of ladies from Georgia, and they sent me some pictures and started sending me pictures 2 years ago, and they're just holding up pictures. I hang out in their backyard with a can of Tailwind,
Oh,
saying
nice.
hi.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see you next year. So yeah,
Oh, that's awesome.
makes for a very special connection for sure.
Yeah. And for those who have not made that special connection yet, will you maybe give a brief history of Big Grove and also what role you play there?
Yeah, absolutely. So, boy, this is our 10-year anniversary, so I'll try to keep the history as condensed as I can here, because there's it's a pretty special time for when you come to a moment like this, an anniversary, like 10 years. I've been with Big Grove since 2015. I worked for a distributor, and I actually recruited Big Grove when they opened, or started recruiting them when they opened in 2013 in Solon.
Hmm.
And I I grew up in Solon, so just having a brewery in my hometown was just really incredibly exciting. I wanted to make sure I'm like, oh, this is a brewery that I'd love to have in our portfolio, and it kept getting more and more unique.
Mm-hmm.
And it just wasn't a brewery opening up; it was a world-class restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
So which seems like something maybe not too far-fetched, but in 2013, the idea of having an incredible food experience with beer wasn't really something you found a lot of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, original founders, Matt Swift, his mother Faye, and then Doug Getch are the original founders who opened Big Grove. And when I came on, they were happy with just being a brew pub and just the restaurant itself. And I came on to say, you know what, we can do something more and something bigger. And just a few years later, we opened up Iowa City in 2017. And I don't know, have you been to either one of them along the way, like when we first opened and first started?
Are you kidding me? Yes. This is probably oversharing, but I am a huge fan of all the big groves, and there is a big grove under construction in my home city here, about half a mile from my house. So I am going to become a Big Grove Cedar Rapids groupie, but I live about 17 miles from that original Big Grove in Solon. So it was a really fun bike ride for like my group. We would bike there on Saturdays and then have a couple drinks, have lunch, and then bike back. So
And
it's
refresh me, from Cedar Rapids to Solon, where was the bike trail finished when we first
no,
opened
we
in
used to have to
2013?
get on the highway, which
Oh, that's right.
now I look at that and think, what the heck was I thinking? But we did it. We
Those
made
ditches
it.
were deep too. Oh my God.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, it's always fun to hear, like just the first ventures, because, this explaining people like, oh, good food, what's that mean? And I'm like, no, I'm like, as a salesman with Big Grove, it became, storytelling and all these incredible events like these beer dinners that
Mm-hmm.
Chef Ben Smart was coordinating, putting together when, he was brought in with the group. He's also one of our partners. Him and Danny were made partners in 2017 when we opened up Iowa City.
Hmm.
And what Ben has done on the culinary side for us has just been just unheard of as far as just this level of execution. What he's done for our kitchen, our culinary development, like our teams themselves, has
Mm-hmm.
become really sought after. I'm like, I always tell people, I'm like, I'm not a skinny kid, but I'm like, if you know that I get excited about salads, they're really good salads. People would kind of get a chuckle on that, but I'm like, yeah, there's approachable things like burgers and
Yeah.
wings, but I'm like, they're the best burgers and wings. And then of course you get in the entrees and just, down in Iowa City having like an international kind of street food theme. And I got my first peek, Kathy, at the Cedar Rapids menu last week with Chef Sean Towley. And I think you're be in for some pretty cool surprises.
Okay, I cannot wait.
Yeah. So yeah, it's after these, we've opened up in Iowa City, and we kind of think we're done for a while because I'm like, okay, this is big space. It's the old University of Iowa surplus building, so it's massive, 20. They come if I don't know what's top of my head, 28,000, 27,000 like that square feet,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a lot of space for a
Mm-hmm.
brewery.
It's massive, yeah.
Yeah, and of course, that's the other element to Big Grove is just the space. I'm like, it's so fun to watch people's facial expressions when they come around that corner in Iowa City, and it's just like this big gray box of a building, and all of a sudden you walk around the back and you're like this magical patio garden, and everybody's just like, holy cow, what did I just walk into? And it's that element of awe and surprise and just defying what expectations are when people have they enter your space. And it's the hospitality too. I'm like, it's just amazing that I get to be a part of what on the service side with the bartenders and managers and everybody, just like how much pride they put into serving people that
Oh, for
visit
sure.
us. So
And I also, you said Iowa City and how massive it is, but I get that same awe feeling when I go into the Des Moines location because it just keeps, you go around this corner and then you go around this corner and then there's merchandise available. Then the bar is huge and plus, amazing food. So I think Des Moines is as equally cool as Iowa City. So on a side note, I'm giddy for the Cedar Rapids location.
yeah, and unfortunately, like, it's funny because now we're coming up literally the week of RAGBRAI is when we opened up Des Moines location, and I'm it's a first time, like, my experience to open up a place as a partner with the rest of the owners, but I was on RAGBRAI that week, so I never got to be part of the first days, and which it tugged at my heart a little bit, but I was like, you know what, I'm like, I just love RAGBRAI.
Right.
Like, I was fine, and yeah, and what they've accomplished there, and that's like kind of the theme in Big Grove is revitalizing old spaces and or old warehouse. And Des Moines was the Crescent Chevrolet building, and there's a great story that was shared about a lot of the gentlemen who used to work in there when it was like just an auto shop and just dealership, and seeing how it was things were repurposed and
Sure.
made in there, made that space kind of alive again because that building was empty for a very long time. So,
And will you tell the listeners the location? Because obviously, overnighting in Des Moines, so there's going to be hopefully the opportunity to come into that space.
yeah, so we're right in that Sherman Hill neighborhood. If you're familiar with Ingersoll Avenue, it's just such a beautiful little neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And our neighbor across the street is Lua. Scott was our former lead brewer that they opened up their location. I think it was like a year and a half, 2 years before us over there too. But yeah, if you're going down Ingersoll right there, you'll see our patio just shining in the night. Again, really cool, beautiful space right there too. So, and if you haven't been to Des Moines, it is incredible. Like, it has changed so much in the past 10 years. And I just love going there for all the new food and locations they got there. It's really thriving, it's a vibrant city now.
Oh, for sure. And,
Yeah.
it's the capital of the state. So I think riders are really going to be like in for a treat as far as just what you see as you ride in, seeing the capital. And, Big Grove is right there. If people are riding in, do you have specific plans set up yet for RAGBRAI riders, or are you still working on that?
Well, I looking at the route on how they'll kind of pull through into Des Moines because that's coming from Ames that day,
Correct.
and I really should have a map in front of me as we're talking.
It's straight
Because
down Highway 69, if that makes sense to you.
yeah, and I'm not as familiar with all the roads and connections in Des Moines, but because they're making their way to Waterworks Park,
Correct.
and then when they leave in the morning, they'll go down, into that East Village area where they'll kind of come up that hill right in front of the Capitol,
Mm-hmm.
which I imagine that's gonna be pretty picturesque. If you're coming into the sunrise in the morning and you're
Mm-hmm.
going up that hill, it's gonna be pretty good scenery. Um, but yeah, so Waterworks, that park area, it is, probably less than 2 miles away. If you just go a little bit north and on Ingersoll Avenue.
Okay.
And we'll have lots of maps and connections for everybody on the ride to kind
Mm-hmm.
of share with people. And yeah, there'll be a great party down there, and we're gonna have one heck of a party at Big Grove too. So plenty of space and lots of cold beer for a hot day.
So, of course, RAGBRAI riders are in for a treat because as they cruise along the state, they are going to have access to your beers in more than just Iowa City and Des Moines. I would say, I don't know what percent, but there's a ton of bars, restaurants, nightlife that will be serving Tailwind at the very minimum, right?
Yeah, we have, I have a team of 5 other people in our sales department that, kind of go out in the world and they work on this for months. And Tailwind is, what we've hoped for is just, a foot in the door to say, hey, this is something we're super proud to support RAGBRAI with. And we hope that not just selling Tailwind in there, but we hope that we make a new friend and a partner to do some business, and then we show them like what we make year round that has built us to the success that we're having right now.
Mm-hmm.
And Easy Eddie is our number one seller. It's now the number one selling not just IPA in the state, but it's also the number one selling craft brand.
Oh, right.
And
Nice.
yeah, it's been a game changer for us. It's just got, again, it's approachable, but it's when you think of hoppy beers, sometimes people get intimidated.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, not everybody likes something that's bitter, but Easy Eddie has got this really soft like bitterness, and it doesn't linger, and it's got this really great like mango, pineapple, really kind of tropical flavor to it.
Mm-hmm.
That's from it's not from fruit, it's from the hops, and it's just it's really thirst quenching. It's one of those beers that you can just drink 2 or 3 of, and your palate's not fatigued, and it's just really pleasant.
And I'm definitely a big fan of Easy Eddie, but I'm a bigger fan of Citrus Surfer. It is
Yeah.
like I can't, if I see it on the shelf, I have to drink it. Like if I'm going to choose to have an alcoholic beverage, because it is so good.
It is brand. It's very new for us this year, and you hope for the best, and you try to make things that because not every maybe wants an arms race or an Easy Eddie or another IPA. So you're like, hey, what else kind of can bring more people into your family of
Mm-hmm.
for them to try. And Citrus Surfer, it makes me wonder if you fast forward in a couple years, it might be outselling Easy Eddie because it is equally as drinkable and it's got a lower ABV. So
Mm-hmm.
especially on hot days and where you can sit in the patio and drink a little bit more, you can have a few more of these. And um, it's kind of a hybrid between like a spiced wheat ale and then a shandy. Except
Mm-hmm.
the difference is ours is it's made with real fruit. So the blood orange and the lemon are just really predominant, and they just have great flavor versus, some of the mainstays, like, I mean, generally use like artificial stuff or something like that. But yeah, it's exciting to watch another beer kind of take over our tanks. And this is leads to, the next step for us is an expansion in Iowa City, where we're taking about 2/3 of our brewery and moving it across town just to be a production facility,
Oh,
kind of
wow.
off of Highway 6.
Yeah.
And the system's going to be twice as big as Iowa City. And that'll kind of give us a breath of fresh air, because we've been kind of every summer, we're just kind of barely getting our heads above water as far as keeping up with production. Of course, summertime months are generally more consumption for beer.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, this will be a very, very big undertaking that's going to hopefully be completed by the end of December
That's
for us to
awesome.
kind of, get ready for next year. So it's a bunch of 250 barrel tanks, which, to give you a scale, if you've been in Iowa City, that's 4 times bigger than one of those tanks.
Oh my goodness. That's
Yeah.
massive.
Yeah. We're doing an addition on the building that we're moving into in Iowa City, just so that we can get the tanks in them. We couldn't do it in our current location. We'd have to
Like
either
bust down
raise the
the
roof.
wall.
Yeah, we'd have to raise the roof or poke up. But of course, we're part of a flight path with the airport, so we had limitations on
Oh,
how high we
sure.
could go up.
Yeah.
So
Well, back to refreshing beverages on RAGBRAI. The other one I wanted to mention, because I usually ask the people I'm interviewing what their favorite beverage is, and right now it is Citrus Surfer. But a close second, like especially when it's really really hot out, are the seltzers. And I just found out about the vodka seltzer called, I think it's just strawberry squeeze, or squeeze strawberry.
yep, it's a vodka strawberry lemonade.
Oh my
So
gosh,
it's
it's
yeah.
delicious.
So we just released that last weekend. It's kind of a trial. This is a new path for us because this is a spirit based. It's a partnership with Cedar Ridge Distillery up there in Swisher,
Mm-hmm.
and then we also partnered with Evert's Honey.
Oh.
So that's what kind of gives it that sweetened body to it that we all like with a lemonade in the summertime. So yeah, it's first week of sales just at the tap rooms. It's not available in the market because we um just kind of a brand new path for us that generally we do trials at just the tap room before we
Mm-hmm.
take them out in the market. So yeah, this one it's been a really pleasant surprise. Again, just like why you add a different type of beer to your portfolio. This is, we have a lot of people and maybe not our beer drinkers, so how do
Mm-hmm.
you bring them into your world and give them a really high quality experience like your beer. And of course, partnering with a local farm and using like real ingredients, and then a distillery like Cedar Ridge, I think gives us a really good take on it.
Definitely. And something else I've been asking everybody who is part of the brewery tour, there are people out there that do not consume alcohol. So I do know from experience that when you go to a big Grove Brewery actual building, you have plenty of options for those who do not consume alcohol. So make sure that, if you're one of those people, you have, your spouse likes to drink a beer, you can definitely go and have a great experience as well.
Oh yeah, there are several non-alcoholic options. If you go to Solon, there's this Italian cream soda. It's become really popular. I've never
Mm.
even heard of these things, and there's a lot of those made there. And then, yeah, we offer several non-alcoholic. We're working on a project ourselves, but it's I can't even speak to the science that goes behind like the non-alcoholic side of things to the level of the brewery is grasping and tackling. And
Mm-hmm.
the one thing we just can't compromise the flavor just to have a non-alcoholic beer. So there will be hopefully a release in the future for something made by Big Grove that's non-alcoholic. But yeah,
Yeah.
currently right now we support other breweries that are doing it right now currently.
Excellent. And what's your favorite beverage? I know you probably can't pick one favorite, but can you give us a favorite?
Oh, I do this with my kids all the time. They say you can't have a favorite kid. I'm like, oh, hell yeah, I do. I'm looking, it changes every week, but no, I mean, yeah, I'm spoiled because the brewery makes so many different styles that are just really well represented and done at a high level. I probably have more arms race in my body than any other beer. That's probably one of my favorites of all time. But I'd say lately I've been drinking, the Iowa City Lager, because it's just an easy, refreshing, delicate, well balanced, good flavor. It's a good summer beer too. It's a good year-round beer.
Excellent. Well, if people want to, do a little bit more research on Big Grove and all the various locations, where can they go?
We'll go right to our website, www.biggrove.com. And of course, there'll be selections for each one of the locations. And then within those locations, you can also select, whether you're looking at the menu. So each location has its own personality with the menu.
Mm-hmm.
There might be some like familiar faces reappearing, like the pretzel. And, but, the burger, there's a lot of common similarities with the burger. But yeah, each menu has its own character. Each kitchen gets to kind of flex their muscles with things that they want to pursue, every quarter, each one will change up the menu with, things that they're getting seasonally, whether that's from local farmers, supplying them some, fruits and vegetables and things like that. So
easy enough, biggrove.com to find out your favorite place. And of course, any RAGBRAI riders out there, see if you can hunt down the Iowa City location and the Des Moines location while you're on the ride, or come back to Iowa when Cedar Rapids opens and I'll go have a beer with you, right?
Yeah.
Well, Chad, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. And I am speaking on behalf of all of the other beer drinkers that we are very thankful Big Grove exists.
Hey, well, I thank you so much. And, this is one of my favorite weeks. I get the option, I got a team that supports me, and I get tempted to do some other things, but once you do RAGBRAI, it's hard to imagine not, missing it.
Agreed.
It's just like it's just such an incredible experience and journey, and like the amount of friends that you get to see again, and then making new ones. It's just something I won't miss in the world ever.
Well, listeners, that is it for this week. We both want to thank you for tuning in to listen to the Just Go Bike podcast.
And if you'd like to contact us with a comment about the podcast, or maybe you have a topic in mind, you can reach us at justgobikepodcast@gmail.com, or you can also follow us on social media at Just Go Bike on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Please rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast, especially if you're a fan. And if you have any extra time, pop on over to the Murphology podcast for more bike adventure interviews.
All right, that's a wrap. We'll be back next week. Until then, just go bike!